Hello, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to the course introduction and review of the syllabus for IS430 Foundations of Information Processing. So I'm showing here the weekly schedule application for one of the two sections of IS430 that I'm teaching in the fall of 2021. So, IS430 is Foundations of Information Processing, and one of the sections is AO2, AO4. Actually, that's two sections that are being conducted together. Um, and then the other section, or sections to be technical, is BO2, BO4. Okay? So, for the purposes of the recording and a lot of systems administration and student support things, um, I just record this one video. Okay? And to the extent that things are scheduled on different days, I'm going to try my best to show you the particulars. But the most important thing you have to know is that there is a separate schedule, a separate weekly schedule for AO2, AO4, and BO2, BO4. Okay. And if you follow the links from Moodle, you're going to get there just fine. Moodle, how about that? It's Canvas now. And speaking of Canvas, let's go take a look at one of the Canvas sites for this course. So this is the course page for IS430 section AO2, AO4. Okay, a few of the details are different, like when your class meets and where to hand things in. So they each have their own Moodle site. So this is the one for AO2, AO4. And I could take you over to the other one, but it's just going to look parallel to this. Okay? All right, so how do we organize the site? Well, there's the announcements feature. On Canvas, I don't think it's a forum per se, but kind of a one-sided announcements feature. And so we have that. We have a link to this. And we're currently looking at what I hope is a representative student view. I've clicked on my See Student View button, and now I am in a See Student View view. And I hope that what I see is what you guys see on your Canvas screen. So we have announcements, and then we have a bunch of modules. Okay, and these are various metadata things about the course. Okay, so there's a course identity. It's just the number and then the sections and the name of the course. Uh, this is the first semester we're using Canvas here at the iSchool, and we're just getting used to the way they configure it here at the university. And um, as the standard header for our page, we just have the course code here, which is probably good for administrative users, but not particularly good for student users. So I decided I was going to have a little module here, which reminded you of the course number and section and course name. Um, the page that you're on for that instead of you having to infer that as some kind of expert from this um, code in the upper left. Okay, so when you're on the right side for you, it's going to say either AO2, AO4 here or BO2, BO4. There's nothing to click through on. Um, I think I mentioned that this is the first semester we're using Canvas at the iSchool, and I used Canvas a couple of years ago at another university, and I think I did fairly well with it. But this time around, it has a new skin and user interface, and um, I'm just getting reacquainted with it. So the best way that I saw to have a title up here was to make it be the name of a page. Okay, maybe a couple months from now, I'm going to think that was a quaint way to solve that problem. But for right now, it's going to solve it. Okay, now we have a group of resources that used to be at the top of the Moodle page for each course. So there's a link to the syllabus. There's a link to the weekly schedule for this course. So that's all the details of when the meetings are, what the assignments are, what the resources are for each assignment, etc. We'll go and visit that soon. Okay. There's the open discussion forum up here. Okay. I want to point out that I encourage you, the students, to post here in the forum as a way to communicate with each other. Okay. I'll pop in from time to time and become a part of the conversation. I just want you to know if you need my attention and my help, this isn't the best place to ask for it. The best place to ask for it is on the service desk, which is the help desk for this course, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Okay, so feel free to use this, but know this is the place to discuss interesting issues and ask for help and help each other amongst the students with the occasional comment by me. Okay, that's open discussion. Zoom meetings, you probably already found your way that. Oh, you haven't found your way here because you're on the Canvas site, but you haven't gone to Zoom yet. Okay, so let's click on the link here for Zoom meetings. And this is a list of all of the Zoom meetings that we have for this course. Each week we have a class session and we have a lab session. The lab sessions are on Sunday morning. The class sessions are, for this section, they're on Thursday evening, but for the other section, they're on Tuesday afternoons. Okay, so depending on which version of the site you're looking at, you're going to see that. I have a lab time for each of the sections. So I have a lab time at 10 a.m. for this Thursday class, and I have a lab time at 11 a.m. for the Tuesday class, because I'm teaching two full courses, two full sections of IS430. So I want to make sure that you folks all get adequate lab time. Okay, so that's what you'll find in Zoom. Let's go back and see what we have. So we're going to visit our way through the schedule. We're going to talk about the syllabus, but not quite yet. Here's what's in course information. We have something that used to show on the front page of the Moodle site. So we just have the name of the course and the name and the number and when it meets and the name of the instructor, a couple things about office hours or contacting me. We haven't announced the TA for this course as of this evening. Um, I'm waiting for all the paperwork to come through on that. So I know who the TAs are. There's a separate TA for each of the sections, and that'll all be finalized. Perhaps it has been in some email I haven't found yet, but I'll be announcing the identity of the two TAs, one for each of the sections soon. Okay. All right. Um, the next section, instructions for setting your preferred name. Here's a page um, that encourages you, if you're not known by the name that's in the system, and by the system I mean in Moodle, I say Moodle, I mean Canvas. I'm gonna have to fix that one. Um, Canvas or Zoom. Okay. If you log in and the name that you're seeing isn't the one that you prefer and the one you want to use in class with us, then there's a link here to a self-service page. Okay. There is an iSchool wiki help created for us by our friends at the help desk on how to change our preferred name in the self-service app. Okay, so follow that, get the name that you prefer us to use in class, how you want to be known in class, get that adjusted on the systems so that you're getting a friendly interface from the system, and those of us who are with you in class can call you the way you prefer to be called. Okay, there we go. So that's what that was all about. Okay, contact us. By us, I mean either me or the TA for your section of the course. Okay, so there's a page for that. Okay, um, the way that we prefer to be contacted is through the service desk for this course. So don't use our iSchool email addresses because we prefer to help you and communicate with you through the service desk. There's a link here to the service desk project for this course, and if you link through here, you'll have to log in, but when you link through here, you'll see a page where you can open a ticket or a request on the service desk for this course, and I and or one or more of the TAs will help you with whatever the issue is. Okay, so that's how you get there. There is a nice introduction page you're able to link to on the service desk. So if it's not real clear what this is and you want some help, you can go there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So what do we have here? We have a tutorial video on how to play tutorial videos. You probably were given a link for that before you were given a link for this, to the lecture that you're listening to now. How to use the service desk for this course. and then the slides that go along with that tutorial. Okay, so that's the contact us. Okay, submit assignments. So here's where you're going to go to submit all of your assignments. The first three hand-ins are linked right now. I have to freshen up the links for the last for the remainder because we copied the content for this course from a prior semester, so I have to go through and change all the dates. But right now, in on September the 5th, this chapters 1 and 2 are due, and on September the 12th, chapter 3 is due in terms of the coding assignment. Okay, I will eventually be posting my solutions to each of the coding assignments, and I'll be posting them right before class when we're going to have our online session. Okay, so by the time we start the class, you'll be able to download and look at and compare my solution to yours. Okay? So there we are. That's that's the general layout for the course. Okay. Let's go and look at two views of the course. So let's take a peek at each. So the first one is the syllabus, and this is where the most comprehensive information about the course is. Are a couple of these things duplicated in our Canvas site? Yeah, for your convenience, they are. Okay, but if you really want the nitty-gritty detail on the course, then go to your syllabus. Now the one that you're seeing, is the one that we link to for IS430 sections AO2, AO4. Okay, if you're in that section, when you click through on the link to the syllabus, you're going to see your syllabus. If you're in the BO2, BO4 section, well, when you click through to the place where we are right now, you're going to see the syllabus for sections BO2, BO4. Okay, so a lot of details here. We'll be back here in another couple of minutes. Okay. Where's the other place you can go to? You can go look at the detailed weekly schedule for this course, which I call the weekly schedule. Okay, so this is an application in which I present all of the useful content for the course organized by weeks. Okay, there is a schedule-ish feature that Canvas has. It's improved over the years. It's still not perfect, but it's coming along. I've been using this weekly schedule application now. I've developed it over about 10 years. And began to use it when I was teaching at two different universities. Now that I'm teaching at one, I'm continuing to use it. But this is the content of the course organized by week. So if you go down the week number list, each of the numbers has a link. So if we go to week 1, we see all the content associated with week 1. Now, again, these are the details. This is the week 1 page for sections AO2, AO4. If you've been going through the chain of these things and you're in section BO2, BO4, well, the links that you've been following are going to lead to the website for section BO2, BO4. Okay? All right. And there's going to be a block, a text block, a content block for each important date in the week. Okay? So we're going to have a block for the class, from the online live session class. We're going to have a block for that. We're going to have a block for the optional lab, and then we're going to have a block for the weekly assignments that are due on Sunday night at just before midnight. Okay, so each of these is an event. Okay. These are only different from section to section as to when the class is. Okay, so this sections AO2, AO4 is a Thursday evening class, and if you've followed your schedule to your links to the schedule for BO2, BO4, you're going to see that your weekly class is happening on Tuesday in the early afternoon. Okay, so as I go through this, I'm going to be clicking through on this AO2, AO4 one, but again, the only thing that's really going to be different is this class session block. The lab session, the optional lab session on Sunday morning. I guess that's a little different because if you're in AO2, AO4, we're going to use the hour from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you're in BO2, BO4, it's going to be from 11 to noon. Okay. And then the one that's exactly the same is going to be this weekly assignments deadline block. And you can see that all the things that we're doing for the weekly deadlines in week one is this computing setup, which includes sending a greeting post to the service desk for the course, choosing your computer, installing Anaconda, and installing PyCharm Professional. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff you find in the weekly schedule. So it kind of answers the question, what things are happening this week? What events are there? There's the class, there's the optional lab session, and there's the weekly deadlines. Okay, and then what is due on that date and time? Okay, that's how I've organized it. It's extremely good answering the question, what's happening in this class this week? It's pretty good at keeping your mind on what's happening in the class in the next couple of weeks because you can just look a week or two ahead. And I tend to have that sort of point of view when I start every class. Okay. So that's what we've got there. One of the things I'd like to do is to just kind of talk about the topics that are going to happen in each of the weeks. So let's take a tour through the weeks. Okay, so in week one, it's going to be course startup. So during the recording that I'm doing now, we're doing the welcome, review syllabus, review the weekly schedule. The introductions are going to happen are going to happen live when we're having our online live session. Okay, and of course, when that session happens, is going to be different whether you're in the AO2, AO4, or BO2, BO4 sections. Okay. Um, so that's the general topic for week one. When we get to week two, we're covering two highly related topics. I say that what if I had to give it a title, I would call it "Getting Started with Programming." So we're going to be doing two chapters from the main text: computers and programs, writing simple programs, both in the main text. The Zell book, which is our main text. Okay, so that's week two. In week three, we go on computing with numbers. So we learn about the two main number types that we work with in Python. Okay, so that's a good feature type of chapter. In week four, we go on to cover chapter five, which is all about sequences. And the three big sequence types that we learn how to work with are strings and lists and files. This is a very big chapter and one you have to make sure that you leave enough time for. So as we're approaching that, I'm going to be warning you that this is a bigger one. All right. Then, as we get to week five, we're going to cover defining functions. Functions are a very important part of Python, and they're one of the major ways that we organize our code in Python. So this is really this is a chapter and topic that once we cover it, then we start to think about how to organize our programs in a much more realistic and more sophisticated way. In week six, we learn about decision structures. Up until now, the kind of logic we've been doing is we've been doing a whole sequence of things, the same thing, or we've done very simple looping in things. Okay, but we have no if then else kind of logic yet. So we're going to be covering chapter 7 on decision structures. So once we get past this, we're going to be able to design and build things that are, more functional, more fun because they get more done. In week 7, we're going to cover Zell chapter 8 on loop structures and booleans. And whereas before we get to this week, we've done some pretty small, pretty tame deterministic loops. We haven't done a lot of the classic looping while something's true kind of logic, which is a big part of information processing with Python. So once we get chapter 8 done, then we're able to kind of solve a lot of common problems that are done with repetitive looping. I mean, a lot of the ways that we use to solve everyday problems in computing is through this kind of looping. Okay, so that takes care of that week. The next week, we're going to be covering data collections, which means we'll have already covered lists, but we're going to cover more about lists. And then we're going to cover dictionaries. So it's going to give us the opportunity to solve more problems that are not as easy to do without those kinds of data structures. In week 9, we're going to be covering regular expressions. Uh, we're going to be covering a chapter from our secondary text, the Severance book. So this is yet another chapter 11, but from the Severance book on regular expressions. They're a lot of fun, and students love them. So you will too. Week 10, we're going to be covering Zell again, chapter 9, simulation and design. And the importance of this chapter is we're teaching you to design and implement more complex programs. Almost everything we've had you do before this have been, well, we haven't been doing a lot of things at the same time. And what we really use, we really learn how to do is we learn how to do simulation and games because they're very good things to learn to put together a more complex program with. So that's what we're doing in the chapter, and having had this chapter, I think you're going to be you're going to be a better rounded and more sophisticated programmer. Okay. In week 11, we're going to cover chapter 14 from the Severance book on object-oriented programming. Okay, and this is a unit on how to design and implement a custom data holder class in Python. So you can use classes for all kinds of things in Python, but one of the basic things that people do is that they use it to create a custom data holder class that you can use to hold a row from an input file, or what would have been a row in a table, or something like that. So related data facts that typically you'd see presented in the row of a table. Okay, and we're going to learn how to build a class to do that for a particular kind of table row, a particular set of facts. Okay, so that's what we're doing in chapter 14, and it gives us a chance to build some um, oh, pretty robust object-oriented solutions when we've learned how to do this. Next, okay, we are we have finished the content from the Zell and Severance books, okay, and we're going to have a unit on Jupyter notebooks. These notebooks are very, very popular. You'll see people using them in all kinds of courses in which we have Python solutions. So data science classes, visualization classes, other database analysis classes. I mean, you're seeing in a lot of contexts. Okay, and people use these notebooks for everything. In fact, probably use them for a lot of things that they're not that well suited for. Okay, so the context that this unit of the course is going to bring, this is a new unit that I'm developing for the current semester as I speak, the fall of 2021. And the point of view that I want to promote for these notebooks, these Jupyter notebooks, is that there's a great use case in terms of how to control and to document a workflow a workflow that amounts to running more than one program. Okay, and then there's a lot of context for this. Um, you'll see it's probably not hard to find a tutorial on how to use the Jupyter notebook for data science, but you'll see a lot of tutorials for data science where um, they load um, they load a file, some sort of a file with comma separated values that has all the data, and they load it into a tool like Pandas, and they do that from cell to cell to cell in the notebook, and when they're done, they've done a whole data analysis workflow. So they don't always call it a workflow. They call it a notebook. Okay. But what it is gives you opportunity to control the workflow of a series of steps of running Python programs. Okay. And it allows you to control it and also to dress it up in a way that it's not only the tool to run it, but also the one to document the process. Okay, so um, informally, that's what people use it for. They use it for to either control the process or to document it, or both, ideally. Okay, and that's going to be our point of view for the unit. Okay, and then the next week we're going to have a demonstration of the Pandas library. Okay, there's not going to be a companion hand-in assignment because this is going to be a demo. This is just sort of me showing you what you can get out of Pandas. Okay, where would you learn about that? Well, either on your own or in some other data science course at the iSchool where they use Pandas. Okay, I'm just giving you a preview. All right. And that is going to take us to the fall break. Okay, so this is Thanksgiving week. Okay, and then we're going to come back from Thanksgiving and we're just going to be working on the final project. Okay, so that's all you've got. Uh, we're going to turn what would have been a class on Thursday, or if you're in the other section on Tuesday, we're going to turn those into optional lab sessions. Okay, so at this point, when we come back from the holiday break, you're going to be working on your final projects, and I'm going to be helping you. Okay, and we're gonna have the normal lab session on Sunday, but in addition, we're going to turn our class session into a lab session as well. Okay. The final week, depending upon the section that you're in, we either have a regular class time or we don't. So in this class that meets on Thursday, there is no regular class time. Okay, the semester's over on Wednesday. For the other section, the BO2, BO4, we do have a class block here for Tuesday. Okay, and I'm going to hold an optional lab session then. Okay. The final project is due on Friday, December the 10th, just before midnight. Okay. I haven't posted the instructions for the final project. I'm going to post that about halfway through. Okay. You'll see the instructions and all the other content objects will be there by November 1st. Okay, and again, probably not going to change the final project. The final project is a fixed set of exercises that relate to each other. It's like a coding assignment on steroids. Okay, And I've got one that I've been using for a while. I keep changing it. I'll probably change it a little bit, and then it'll be even better. Okay? And that's it for the semester. Okay? So that's a schedule. That's what we cover. That's what the course is about. Okay. Well, what else is worth talking about before we wrap up here? Well, let's take here. We were going through the Canvas site. Okay. And two things that I said that we'd want to look at were the weekly schedule, okay, and the course syllabus. So let's go back and take a look at this again. Fire it up. Okay. Um, Now, again, the document is going to be different, not in too many respects, depending upon the section that you're in. So this link has gone to the AO2, AO4 syllabus. If you're following your links and you're in the BO2, BO4 sections, then you're going to be on the BO2, BO4 syllabus. Okay. Um, these are different in terms of, for the most part, the schedule. I haven't filled in the TAs yet. When I get the final uh, paperwork on that or email on that, then I'll be filling that in. I'll be making the announcements again. I know who the individuals are who have been assigned, but we haven't gotten started yet. Um, the the class sessions are, of course, at two different times. So if you're in this AO2, AO4, well, you're going to be on Thursday evenings. If you've clicked through on the other syllabus, well, you're going to be early Tuesday afternoon. Okay. The online sessions. Okay. There, I'm holding two for the online lab sessions. So the one for this AO2, AO4 section is at from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you're click through on the syllabus for the BO2, BO4, you're going to see that we're meeting from 11 a.m. to noon. Okay. Um, I don't have open office hours, okay? If you'd like to get help with your work, then please come to one of the online labs. I finish up each class session with an online lab. Usually what I do is class ends early and I use the remaining time. But I typically will hang around even if there isn't any remaining time or whether we had it and we used it up. I usually can hang around and I usually outlast the students. Okay. Contacting the TA or me, please use the service desk for this course. There's a link to it right here. It takes you to the page where you can pick a topic and write out a ticket. Okay, we've got separate help on that I've already pointed to, so I'm not going to say anything further. Okay. Um, what else do I want to say? Um, yeah. So please do use the service desk. I do leave my number for when the service desk process is somehow broken down. The service desk has stopped working, and you need me to wake up. You need to wake me up to that, or there's some kind of crisis about the course that you know is an emergency, and you need to call me. Well, call me. Okay, so I put it here. I think the best way to get help and advice from me is to use the service desk. But I'll let that prove itself and give you an emergency number. Okay. Something I went over maybe a little too fast is there are two ways to enroll for this course, for 4 credits and for 2. Okay. If you take the 2 credit enrollment, you don't do the final project. I, I think that's a bad deal. Okay. It may cost you less to take the course, but the final project I think really adds a lot. And I think it's worth doing. Okay. So if you got to take it for 4, I'll understand. I don't track who's taking it for 2, who's taking it for 4. I teach you, but I teach you all just as hard all the way through. Okay. The one thing I ask is if you see the wisdom of a change in either one direction or the other, that you work with your advisor to get that change done well before the end of the course. Okay, there's a cutoff date for it. There's forms. There's all this kind of stuff. It's not hard to do, okay, but it's time consuming. So leave time to get that done well before the end of the semester. Okay. Um, these optional lab sessions are a real important part of the course. Okay, they happen at 2 times during the week. They happen immediately after class. Um, I can usually stay as long as the students can within reason. Okay. And then on Sunday morning, we have a dedicated 1 hour session. I have one for each of the section groups that I'm teaching. So for this AO2, AO4 section, who we're on the syllabus for, that's from 10 a.m. till 11. For the BO2, BO4, that's from 11 a.m. to noon. Okay. And you folks come, it's first come, first serve. Uh, you can either ask questions or you can ask for help with code. Sometimes people come with a question and I ask them to show me the code, and we wind up looking at code anyway. Um, a lot of times what happens is that by the time we get to a person, I try to keep a list of who's first to the extent that I can. But by the time we get to a person, they'll say, "Oh, you know what? I got the answer to my question 3 people ago." Okay, so that's what happened. There are some people who come to do what I call high quality lurking. And they come and they don't have a particular question or thing that they're stuck on, but they just kind of wonder, well, are they kind of missing something? Let's see what kind of questions other people have. And they usually come, they have a lot to add, and they usually come back. There's usually at least a handful of people who come to all these things. And they enjoy it and they add a lot of value, and glad to have them. So if you think you might be one of those people, well, come on by, see what it's about. Okay, I have no formal office hours. Okay, so either you come and get some help at the lab times, or you put in a request on the service desk for an individual meeting, um, and we'll have an individual meeting, typically on Zoom. Um, okay. To contact me or the TA, again, you use the service desk. There's the catalog description of the course and a more detailed description of the course. I'm going to leave those for you to read. Okay. I'm just going to say it's a first course in programming using Python 3 for beginners. Okay. And we have a lot of tolerance for differences in prior experience or aptitude. Okay, so we'll take people, they'll be at home here in the course and they'll learn a lot and do well, who don't have any prior experience at all with any programming language. Complete newbies. Okay, and we'll have some people who've done programming before. Okay, but maybe they're rusty or it's been a while or they've never done Python programming and they want to learn Python, then you're welcome at this course too. And I think we can keep you interested. Okay. And we'll benefit by having you here. Okay. And then we'll take people sort of in between those two extremes. So, regardless of your level of experience, I think we can help you, and I think we can keep you interested. Okay. Um, there are learning outcomes that are the embodiment of the kind of big picture I just gave you. We've got two texts. Zell, which is a paperback book, but I think there's also an e version. Okay. Um, it definitely get that book. It creates a lot of value. It's not unreasonably expensive for a textbook. And then we've got the Severance book as our secondary text. Charles Severance teaches, I think, at the Michigan High School. He's had this book for a while. He's very well regarded. He's a good writer, teacher person, and He's made sort of ebook copies in various formats available for free. I recommend that you take him up on this generosity and say thanks and use the free version. Um, because it's the same book wherever you go. A printed one's going to say what the ebook says. They're all the same version. Okay. Technology requirements. You've got to pick a computer. Okay. You're going to want to pick one that either has Windows 10 or a recent version of Mac OS. Technically, you could pick Linux. Okay, because we technically do support that. And our tools that we're going to use have Linux versions. But in terms of the kind of technical support that you can expect, you're going to do better with either Windows or Mac OS than you are with Linux. So if you really want to choose Linux, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to support you either. So, yeah, I can kind of point you around, but I'm a Linux user on the server and really haven't done a lot of client side Linux. Okay. Um, so those are the technology requirements. Um, that let's there's a list here to the schedule. Okay, we've already been to the schedule, so we don't need to talk about that more. There are readings every week. uh, I show required readings in the main text. Okay, I show optional readings in the secondary text. I typically advise you to use the secondary test as it's helpful. Okay, so give it a look. See, it's often helpful for people who are new to programming, who are not. Maybe they're reading a chapter in the primary text, and it's like I don't quite get that, or well, I get it, but not as well as I'd like to. They'd like to maybe look at it expressed some other way, and that's what the secondary text really gives. Okay, so that's the reason that's there. We'd expect you to do the readings before the next thing, which are the lecture videos. The lecture videos, again, are recorded on YouTube. Um, I give a prepared lecture. Okay. Uh, I do cover the readings for the most part. There's probably two chapters where I don't cover the readings. Okay. But um, there is overlap between the readings and the lectures. And what I want you to do is to uh, figure out what combination of these resources work for you. Okay. And use them accordingly. Okay. And some graduate courses, we don't do lectures on the reading material. Uh, Typically, in a lot of programming courses, we do. Okay. You have your learning style. I've really prepared it both ways. I do say things on the recording that are not in the textbook. Okay, and I consider that my value added. So do some sampling, figure it out, use the resources wisely. Tutorial videos. Um, Tutorial videos are associated with the coding assignments. Okay. Um, oh, and in the computing setup at the beginning of the course. So there are really two kinds of videos. The one, there's a tutorial that explains how to do things, how to install a piece of software, how to read a grading rubric, how to do some kind of program to solve a kind of group of problems. Okay, so you know we've got that. The second tutorial, these are the tutorials that are coordinated with the exercise. And what we're doing is I'm demonstrating how to write a program to solve a kind of problem. Okay. It's not the exact problem that you're going to get in the exercise, but it's one like it. Okay. So you can look at the code that I've used and the kind of thinking that I've shared with you and going through that on the tutorial, you can use that to solve your problem. Okay, so I'm going to demo the skill, and then you're going to be expected to, to practice the skill. Okay, I really recommend that you play all these. Okay, they're worthwhile. You might want to play them fast. You might want to play them slow. You might want to skip parts, but they're definitely worthwhile. Okay. The other thing that we have in terms of weekly assignments usually involve one or two coding assignments. And coding assignments are um, they're typically organized. Excuse me. I'm sorry. They're typically organized as uh, pie chart projects, and uh, we're doing typically 2, 3, or 4 exercises, each of them being a program or maybe a pair of programs in just a few instances, usually a program. And um, uh, some of them are related to each other, but for the most part, each of them are kind of independent. They all give a chance to um, show that you know how to program and follow one of the approaches that we covered in the chapter. And we're going to have, typically uh, 2 or 3 or 4 of these. Okay. Um, Now, my expectations and the way that we grade these have to do with the kind of theory of these exercises. Okay. I believe that you learn by doing with this kind of activity. And part of doing is trying, not remembering, having to look for examples, working your way through problems. Okay. This is a very detailed, very headachy kind of activity. And you don't get good at it by just reading other people's solutions. You come by uh, having to author the code and type it in and run tests and get it to work. That's how you learn. Okay. Sometimes you can get you'll do that perfectly. Okay. You'll get a 100 on that assignment. Okay. Sometimes you'll try. You might fail. Okay. But uh, you've learned something of failing, because when we get to class and we talk about the kind of official solution, which is one of a family of good solutions, okay, then you'll see how to solve that problem. Okay. So here's what I do. I've got a system for how we grade these. Well, there's kind of a points guarantee. Okay. So if you hand it in on time, which is Sunday night at 11:55, okay, if you hand it on time, if you organize your files and name them and all those things correctly, okay, and if you make a good faith effort on all parts of the assignment, regardless of how horribly you mangle something, okay, then uh, if you do all those things, you'll score 85 points. Okay. So, but you have to hand it in on time. I need you to practice it and try it and succeed or fail on your own before uh, we publish the solutions, and we review them in class. There's a lot to be learned for having tried. If you don't try, you won't learn a darn thing. Okay, it always looks easy when you see the solution. It may look, kind of sobering. Okay, but you can always kind of read through or listen to a walkthrough of the solution. Go, oh yeah, I could do that. Okay, but it's not the same as angsting through it on your own. That's where the real having angsted through that and then having seen the solution, either independently, okay, having worked it out, or when we get to class, um, you'll you'll learn. Okay, so uh, if you hand it in late, you can't score higher than 84. Okay, if you hand it in on time, follow the directions and make a good faith effort on all parts, you can't score less than 85. Okay, there's no reason to hand anything in late. If you have a legitimate reason for needing an extension, I do I do grant extensions depending on case having been made for the extension. Um, I find it fairly easy to grant extensions kind of up to our class where I'm going to hand them out. We're going to review the solutions. I find it hard to grant extensions beyond that. Those are coding assignments. Okay, at the beginning of every class in which we've had a coding assignment, we've had a coding assignment the previous week, we'll review solutions together. Okay, we'll break up into groups. Okay, we typically each group will specialize on a particular one of the exercise. We'll look at your solutions, how they're different from each other. We'll look at my solution and how people's are different from mine. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to identify, um, good practice and settle issues and questions that have to do with each of the results. So, what I expect you to be able to do um, is I think that you ought to be able to participate in our talking through the solutions from the week before. I want you to be able to understand the grading rubric, and I want you to be able to estimate what your grade will be. Now, we will over 2 weeks, we will we will grade your work and we'll send you a feedback form with the grade. Okay. Okay. And um, you should be able to compare that, and you shouldn't be surprised. Okay. We will uh, regrade in a situation where you've seen our feedback, you've heard the talk in the class, and you think that maybe we didn't see some aspect of what you were showing us when we graded it. Well, we'll do a regrade. Okay. Um, you know, do we make mistakes? Well, we've made a mistake or two, and we've been willing to correct them. Okay. We don't make a lot of mistakes, so you can feel good about this. So the final project, it's due in the last week of the semester. It's an individual project. Everybody will do the same thing. I will hand out instructions and you will do it. I often say it's like a coding assignment on steroids. Okay, it's a lot of exercises. They coordinate with each other in a way a typical homework assignment does not, and it kind of represents taken collectively as either a workflow or multi workflows. Okay, that's what the project's going to be about. We'll have the content out for that by November 1st. Uh, Attendance. We expect you to attend classes. If you miss the class, we we expect you to play the recording. Okay. Participation in the course is real important. Okay, so please do. Okay. I have a list of things. Uh, uh, Participation is, I think, 10% of the grade. Okay, so I really expect you to dig in. Okay, because of the way I grade this, I'm going to say you ought to see participation as something that will get you a couple 3 points on the final um, uh, in your final grade, right? Uh, so it turns out that the way we grade participation, I just add up the points at the end of the class. Uh, you get points for being involved in the class while the class session is happening uh, for the most part, and that's how we handle it. Okay. Um, I regret that I've spent a lot of time in my career responding to students who are making some kind of appeal with regard to grading. And so I realize a lot of questions come up, and I don't want people to be surprised. And I want to kind of manage expectations about what are the policies, how things get graded in this course. Okay. Um, I don't want people to be disappointed. Okay. So I'm going to talk you through just the titles of these sections. Please read the policies. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Okay. So I'm going to read through these and then I'm going to come up with a kind of summary point of view. So, first thing, uh, iSchool and university grading policies apply. So we have a list of iSchool and university policies. down below, okay? I'll point you to them. They're important, okay? Some of them can have application to grades. Careful attention to detail is required. This is a detail-oriented course. These are uh, programming related jobs are detail oriented jobs. I'm going to expect you to pay a lot of attention to detail because it's important to being in the information profession, and it'll be expected of you by your clients. Okay, you just can't hand your work in and say, "Is this right?" Okay, you hand your work to them and they ask you, "Is this right?" Okay, um, so we're going to grade you pretty hard on things as detailed as names of files, how you give us your name. Do you put a particular part first or do you put that last? Okay, because that's going to impact our workflow. Okay, so please pay a careful attention to detail. Um, Assignment resubmissions are not permitted. Okay, because I've created the grading scheme for assignments to be kind of fail proof. Okay. Um, if you show that you make a good faith effort, you'll get at least a B. Okay. A B or two is not going to ruin your overall grade. Okay. And it takes forever to grade these things multiple times. Okay. I think we want to set the expectation that as a professional programmer, you expect there to be problems that have to be fixed and easily and done. Okay. And so uh, 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 we don't want this to be, oh, please let me hand this again. Let me hand this in again. Okay. The idea that there might be a problem that squeaked through and we'd have to fix it, well, that's pretty well expected, and we've counted that in. Um, Deadline extensions must be requested before the deadline. Okay. Use the service desk. Deductions will be made for late submissions. So both on coding assignments and on the final project, the amount of points that you lose for being late is really significant. So either be on time or apply for an extension with whatever information that you have that justifies an extension. Assignments that are submitted too late will not be graded. Okay, so how late is too late? Well, for a coding assignment, which we have 11 or 12, more than 14 days late is considered too late. Okay, for the final project, because we have to make a grading deadline, more than 7 days late will be considered too late. Um, can you apply for an extension to the too late rule? Uh, yes, you can. Okay. Um, uh, but um, uh, you have to apply for it. Okay. You have to open a ticket on the service desk. Uh, Now, this next section is a fast rule. Okay, so grade adjustments. The only grade adjustments by policy that I'm going to make are limited to the automatic rounding of fractional values. So on coding assignments or on the final project or on the participation score, I guess it's possible for any of those to have a fractional value. We're going from 1 to 100, but continuously. So could you have a value of uh, 81.34 or 91.96? Yes, you could. Okay. What would we do with that? Well, we would round it to the nearest integer. Okay. So if it was 81.23, it would round down to 81. So 0 through 4, we round down. We just use simple rounding. 5 through 9, we round up. Okay. Okay. So that's the only adjustment that we're going to make. Now, it doesn't matter if you're 1 point away from some kind of a letter grade um, threshold. Okay, if you're just into the B minus and you need to get up in order to get into a B plus, and please could we increase, and please because I really wanted an A, or I don't want an A, I really want an A plus, or I have all A's, I've always gotten all A's. Doesn't matter. Okay. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do automatic rounding of fractional values. And if it just turns out to be on the wrong side of the automatic rounding formula, yes, I agree that it's disappointing. Okay, and I'll be willing to be disappointed with you. Okay, because I've had the disappointments like this myself. But we're not going to make changes other than automatic rounding. Um, Regrading requests that are made to the service desk will be given fair consideration. And by regrading, I mean maybe we have had you handed an assignment and we haven't graded it. Okay, either we missed it or you handed it in late and we had already graded that. In any case, you want us to go back to that list of things and make sure we grade yours. Okay, or you may have looked at the result that when you looked at our grade on our and feedback, and you may have compared it what you think you deserve, and somehow you think we missed something. Okay, well, open a ticket, explain that, explain why you think the grading should be different, and we'll give it fair consideration, and if it's appropriate, we'll change your grade. So, extra credit opportunities are not available. Okay, so this again is a reaction to the experience I have with grading disappointment. Typically, a person is a point or two away from the grade that they they wanted to have, and they're disappointed, and so they'll ask, "Can I hand in something for extra credit?" And the answer is no, you can't, because by policy, we're not going to allow extra credit opportunities. Okay, so the place to get kind of extra credit and to get a boost is perhaps in class participation. Okay, if you're one of the highest people in class participation, um, uh, you could pick up 100 or in the high 90s or something like this. Could that give you a little bit of boost? Yeah. So if you want to bring in a boost, okay, um, try to push the class participation because that's what's going to boost you. But when the class is over or when we're looking ahead to the end of the class and you're feeling a disappointment and would like us to have an extra credit opportunity, please know that we don't. Okay? The next point I've already kind of talked about, but coding assignments submissions that meet certain criteria are subject to a minimum score guarantee. So if you hand in your coding assignment on time And if you organize and name the files uh, appropriately, and if you make a good faith effort on all parts, you ought to be able to score an 85 or better. Um, if you if you don't do a good faith effort on all parts, or you don't hand it in on time, um, uh, you you would score 84 or fewer points. So this is a place where you can either gain or lose a lot of points. Um, The participation grade is based upon participation points earned throughout the semester. There's one thing that you can do at the beginning of the semester, which is to make a greetings post on the service desk. 10 is an astronomical number of points, so you'd be foolish not to get that done during the first 2 weeks of class. Um, if you post on the open discussion forum or reply there, you'll get some credit. When you speak during class, you get some credit. If you type something into the chat during class, you get some credit. If you present the solution to your coding assignment, uh, when we're going through the solutions, you can earn 5 points. That's a really high number of points. Or what we do is we break up into breakout groups to discuss each of the things that we do. So each group has a person who reports for that group from the breakout session. That's worth another 5 points. And again, uh, it's expected that we're going to rotate these around during the semester so that everybody gets a fair opportunity to do these things. Okay? And at the end of the semester, this is graded on a curve. Okay. So the student that gets 85, um, uh, the student who has the median number of points is going to get an 85. Okay. Um, so I picked the values for uh, 185 and 75 and 65, and I interpolate the rest of them. So what does this mean to you? Okay, well, if you're tracking an A, okay, um, in the rest of the course, okay, and you only do a median amount of a participation, well, then you're going to score an 85 for participation for an average amount of it. If you've been tracking with an A, well, the participation may drag you down a point or two. Okay? It may drag you down from a 95 to a 94. Okay? Something like that. On the other hand, uh, if you're tracking uh, if you're tracking with an A and you don't do any participation points at all and you wind up with a 0, okay, it'll bring your course average down by 10 points. Okay, so uh, it'll be like having a B. It'll, instead of a 95, you're going to wind up with an 85 for the course. Okay, so um, normally it's a point up or a point or a couple of points up or a point or a couple of points down. Okay, but with the exception that if you don't participate at all and you get a 0, you get a whole letter grade lower than you would have otherwise. Attendance at class may affect your grade. Okay, all of these items that I listed for attendance, I mean for participation, can only be done if you're at the class, except for the greetings post. So you you have to come to class uh, to to do the participation, and you're going to want to come to class. What's the basis for determining the grade? Well, it's different for the 4 credit and the 2 credit students. If you're a 4 credit student, the participation is 10%, the coding assignments are 45, the final project is 45. Okay. If you're a 2 credit student, the participation is 10%. The coding assignments are 90%. Okay. This is the standard table that we use at the iSchool to translate the number grade. So again, we're going to do simple rounding to letter grade. Okay. And we're just going to do simple rounding. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to do anything more. And I promise you, for a couple of people, it's going to brighten their day, and for a number of people, it's going to disappoint them. And I'm going to be sad if you're one of the disappointed. You're going to be sad about it, and I'll be sad with you. But the only thing that I can do is simple rounding. Now, here are a bunch of policies from the university that are, um, kind of mundane and kind of very, very important. Okay. Uh, how are they mundane? They're mundane in that this language that you see here in the end section of the syllabus should be the same for every syllabus within our school in the current semester. Okay. So that makes it kind of boilerplate. So you know, if you understand it for one course, you understand it for all your courses. Okay. That doesn't make it unimportant. So these policies are very important that are in the boilerplate. There's a policy on incomplete grades. There's a policy on academic integrity. There's a statement of inclusion. There's a policy regarding religious observances. There's a policy, there's an accessibility statement. There's a statement related to COVID-19. Okay? There are all these things. Now, for the most part, these have to do with your responsibilities and opportunities to get help with things or relief for things. They're all very important things. If you're a person who has a question or a problem or a need for help in relationship to any of these things, you can look at me as a first person to help you. In many cases, I'm going to refer you to other people who are more qualified to truly help you. Okay, but I'm here if you have a question, a problem, or an issue about any of these university and iSchool policies. Okay. Now, once you understand them, and once you understand that there are certain things you have to do and certain things that you're entitled to have, and you're comfortable with all that kind of stuff, well, then you can treat this whole section as boilerplate. But boilerplate is almost an historical statement. It says, I've read all this stuff, I understand this stuff, I know what it does, and I'm comfortable with that. Okay? So you reach some historical point where that's true. Okay? Then and only then is this boilerplate. Up until then, it's some very interesting and important policies. Okay, so um, that's the syllabus. Okay, so what are we coming up to? Well, we're coming up to the beginning of the course. So let's look at the schedule. Okay, so we're just going to pop through and look at this and look at week 1. Okay, so in week 1, we're going to do the course startup stuff. We are going to have a class on Thursday for this section and on Tuesday for the BO2, BO4 section. So read the syllabus, okay? Play the tutorial on playing the videos, okay? Play the lecture that you're listening to right now. Get ready to introduce yourself at our first class meeting, okay? On Sunday morning, time having to do with what section you're in, we're going to have an optional lab session. Feel free to come to that, okay? We'd love to see you there. Okay, from 10 to 11 for this AO2, AO4 section, from 11 to 12 for the BO2, BO4 section. And then the work, the computing setup work is due by the end of the week. Okay, the only thing hand-in-ish of this is send a greetings post to the service desk for this course. The other things are more just kind of get it done. Choose your computer, install Anaconda, install PyCharm Professional. Okay, so that's where we're headed with this. I'm looking forward to the first meeting of the course. Okay, I'm looking forward to meeting you. So I'm going to wrap this up and say goodbye until next time. Bye bye.